Welcome, everyone. Today's webinar is Cultivating Change, Regenerative Organic Agriculture at MIU. So by the end of this webinar, we hope to have addressed these three pertinent questions. So who we are, what is regenerative organic agriculture? And two, why we exist, what are the important issues affecting agriculture? And finally, what we do, what are research opportunities that students can have? So you'll notice that we offer a full range of degree options. There's the undergraduate, online or on-campus program. There's a specialization. There's a certificate program. There's also an MS in regenerative organic agriculture, and also down the pipeline, a PhD program in regenerative agriculture. Our panelists today, we have the director, the chair of the program, Jody Hill, joining us, and also Stephen Toppenrud and Jim Schaefer. So let's go to our faculty experts. And let's start with Jody Hill. And we'd love to meet you and find out who you are and how you got into regenerative agriculture.
I am Jody Hill, and I'm the new chair of regenerative organic agriculture at MIU. I am from East Texas, and growing up, most of what I saw were conventional methods being used to produce hay fields and beef cattle. So as I started growing as a person, I started recognizing the deleterious effects of those practices on our land, the ecosystems, water pollution, air pollution, and even animal welfare. And really, it all ties into human livelihoods. So when I came across MIU and I saw the word regenerative in the name, it snagged me, and I thought, this is where I need to be. And so I came to MIU in order to promote some of these more sustainable options. Everybody eats. We all know that we require food to sustain our livelihoods, but very few people think about where that food comes from, how it is produced, and what we actually are putting into our bodies. Conventional or industrialized agriculture tends to create foods that are lower in nutrient concentration. They degrade the soils, which are the source of everything that we think about when it comes to ecological health. So one of the things that we do here, as Karen mentioned initially, is we focus on the student as a whole in the same way we focus on the environment as a whole. So we practice consciousness-based education. And what this does is it allows the student to have a more holistic view of agriculture and the education that they're receiving. And so we also focus on, how do we regenerate our ecosystems? How do we produce healthier food in order to contribute to food security around the world? And we will talk a little bit about some of the social aspects as well. We have several different degree paths, and so we can meet the needs of students from various backgrounds, including if you want to get a certificate just to add credibility to some of your prior knowledge that you already have through careers. We have the bachelor's degree, the BA, where you can come and learn a bit more in depth of what regenerative organic agriculture is about. Sustainability is not enough. So when we talk about the difference in regenerative versus organic, and Jim is our organic expert here. Organic agriculture is it's a certification that is based on specific rules and regulations that apply to how we manage our soil, our crops, and our animals. And so outside of that certification, for organic agriculture, there's also the concept of regenerative. Regenerative agriculture starts with the soil. Everything we do is approached from a holistic standpoint so that we look at the effects of our management practices on the soil health. And oftentimes, the soil is almost like the ocean in the sense that there is more that we don't know about it than there is that we do know about it. And so what we do at MIU is we focus on how do we start from the ground up? How do we make the entire system better so that we can improve livelihoods around the world? And with our PhD program and some of the research that we're going to move into more heavily in the coming academic year, we are going to focus on sharing some of our new knowledge and some of our findings so that we can expand that and allow access to greater numbers of people.
That's super exciting. And did you want to touch on the MS a little bit? Maybe you already did.
A little bit. I'd like to talk a little bit more. One of the great things, I'm also the graduate program director for our Master's of Science program. We offer this online, which I've had this question presented to me many times. How do you teach agriculture in an online scenario? Well, I can assure you that we do have that covered. We use a combination of hands-on assignments where you would perhaps function independently by yourself to complete a lab under the direction of our instructors. Many people do not have the luxury to attend school full time, and most people, for example, in our master's program, they're juggling a full-time job, families. They have a lot on their plate, and so what we're doing is we are focusing on helping these people achieve it all in a holistic approach. And so we are able to very easily teach these students remotely in a hands-on format.
That is so awesome. Yeah. Um, Thank you for explaining how you take this online. Can you give us an overview of these slides that you've sent us?
Yes, absolutely. So I put this in here because I wanted people to kind of just quickly get an idea of what we're talking about when we talk about soil degradation. There's a lot of disconnect, as I mentioned, between people and their food. Where does their food come from? What does it take to produce it? So when we talk about conventional agriculture or industrialized agriculture, these are some of the issues that we are challenged with. Monoculture crops, or even some simple rotation, corn and soybean, for example, which is very big in Iowa. These monoculture crops, they're completely ignoring the rich ecosystem that exists in a soil. You know, we have microbial biomass, we have fungal biomass in this soil that most monoculture type practices or simple rotational practices, we tend to ignore those. These people want to get the biggest bang for their buck and with very little regard to what the long-term effects are of that. So on the top left, you see soil. And one of the most important takeaway points from this is soil needs to be covered. Soil is not meant to be exposed to the elements. If you think back to the Dust Bowl in the United States, we had serious soil erosion that was a result of tearing up the deeply rooted native grasses and replacing those with shallowly rooted annual crops that were being promoted by the US government. And so people, they were looking at nothing but profit. They pulled up the deeply rooted natives that were, that had evolved to exist in these ecosystems with periodic drought and low rainfall. And we replaced them with plants that were not supposed to be there. And so then we had a few years of drought and we started seeing massive soil erosion. Once you lose that rich topsoil, then you no longer have the ability to produce crops like you do in a natural, a good system that has that organic matter in the surface. If anybody has seen if you just go out in the ground with a kitchen spoon and dig a hole, you can see the difference in the dark layer at the top that might be anywhere from a centimeter to a few feet deep. That dark matter at the top is organic matter. And this is what we're trying to preserve. It forms an insulating barrier to some of these environmental factors that can degrade that soil. And so as agriculturalists in ROA, you will be learning how to enhance that top layer of soil in order to keep that soil stable, feed the microbes that are responsible for mineral nutrient cycling in that soil. And then thus we have a more stable soil, so we have reduced erosion and less nutrient pollution into water. So if you look at this bottom left picture, it shows an algae bloom that was caused by nutrient pollution. Two of the primary factors that cause this issue is nitrogen and phosphorus. And this can come from animals as they defecate on the ground. Some of the manure contains nitrogen and phosphorus. We also think of nitrogen and phosphorus as fertilizers for plant growth. And so what we see when it gets into the waters, we have an excess bloom of algae. When those plants bloom excessively, the degradation of that water is seen in the form of anoxic conditions, low oxygen. We have these plants when when they die and start to decompose, they eat up the oxygen in the water. That's one issue that we see. So this water can no longer support aquatic life. The slash and burn, if you have a poor quality soil, such as you might see in the Amazon areas, we have these forests that have developed to be in a stable ecosystem, but there's very few nutrients left in that soil that are not tied up into those plants that exist. So when either industry or even sometimes the local farmers, when they want to plant some crops here, they have to get that vegetation out of the way, and they will burn it to release those nutrients into the soil. So they will slash it, they'll burn it. Those nutrients are then available for the cash crop that they're trying to produce. And then that cash crop is carried off site and those nutrients go with it. And so we see this depletion of that soil health. And so that is, yes, that's the
Yeah,
gist of it.
this was like having a little class. I mean, you did want to give everyone a sense of sitting in a classroom space with you. And I think that's like a good teaser. And I think we should move on to Stephen. But I noticed that was it Sarah? Somebody asked a question, is the MS program a new one? And I think you said yes, right?
It is relatively new. We've had it, I think about 4 years now.
Oh,
Jim, correct me, but I believe it's been about 4 years. It's continuing to grow. We're starting to see more students enrolling in this program, and it's constantly evolving. We look at the changes in the industry. We want to make sure our students are prepared for a career and that they have the skills necessary to that are transferable, outside of consciousness-based education, which is the platform we use to distribute this information. We want our students to be able to apply that to many different aspects of agricultural.
all right. So that's a note to Dylan in a little bit. We want to ask what you've been able to apply. But first, let's go to Stephen. And Jody, thank you so much. That was awesome. I know that you're really concerned about the relationship with the local indigenous population, and you've even alluded to the impacts of colonization and also the neo-colonization phases. Are there any points from that you'd like to share? And also just weave in how you got into regenerative agriculture.
Yeah, my name is Stephen Tolpenrud, and I think that where I became pretty aware or more aware of and sparked an interest in social justice within agriculture began at UCSC's Farm and Garden Apprenticeship. And it's considered the birthplace of modern organics in the United States. And for me, going there and attending it, it really exposed me to the importance of social justice. That's a huge thread in the program. And I myself, as am a tribal member of the Chickasaw Nation, and from that moment on, it really cemented my interest in agriculture as well, and also just food sustainability in general and food systems. And so from that program, I went over to a graduate degree at a UN-mandated school in Costa Rica called University for Peace, and it was there that I also was given an opportunity to learn from my cohort who represented over 70 nations around the world and gave me, I think, a more broad understanding of environmental issues and in particular agricultural issues, but also from a global South perspective. And it was that education that had me questioning maybe certain ideas, even within the environmental movement, that we see so often, or within organic agriculture. And I started to question a lot of that. And so from there, I returned to Washington, D.C., where I went to American University and finished up my thesis. And my thesis was on the topics of the concept of coexistence, which is the policy framework that the United States uses to cultivate or allow for the cultivation of transgenic, organic agriculture, and conventional agriculture. And what I was looking at was how that policy framework can actually still allow for historically discriminate against farmers and ranchers to be the brunt of colonization or even neo-colonization, which is what is happening currently. And this is a photograph of Hopi landrace varieties that to a lot of folks' eyes, we just look at a crop as a crop. Whereas from an indigenous perspective, we look at that as our brothers and sisters. It's a cosmic relationship. It's a coevolution between two species. And they're integral into indigenous people's ceremonies, such as Hopi's corn varieties can be used for birthing ceremonies. So it was from that thesis, my graduate thesis, I really saw the importance of how we still have to fight and work towards promoting social justice within agriculture and society at large. And then after that program, I ended up going up to Guatemala, and a good friend of mine, you can see at the center of the photograph, he is a Kaqchikel Mayan, and his father was one of the original members of the Campesino movement, which spreads agroecology, which is highly interwoven with regenerative agriculture. Those are synonymous, those terms, I would argue. And again, working with indigenous peoples here taught me so much about our relationships with the land, our relationships with ourselves and with other beings, and the importance of allowing for indigenous perspectives. And so it is from and with that knowledge that I will be teaching a course next year on indigenous ethnobotany, which is basically looking at how plants and peoples kind of affect one another, and how our culture is, or how people's cultures are impacted by their agricultural practices, their biomes. And it's a very sensitive topic to be talking about indigenous people's cultures. And, when we're talking about ethnobotany, ceremony comes up, and that's a very sensitive topic. And as an indigenous person myself, ancestrally, and also as a tribal member, it's something and predominantly a white male, I'll be walking a difficult path. But I'm excited for these conversations to be had. Some of them will be difficult, but they're also, I think, really beneficial and have helped me grow immensely as a human being. And I think expand our awareness and our horizons and sense of understandings. And I believe importantly in this topic. So I'm excited about this class.
Thank you so much for hosting those conversations. Super necessary at university level to have someone modeling how to host those difficult conversations.
So briefly, I'll be teaching another course on apiculture, which I'm excited about as a beekeeper. And we'll also be teaching a course on food preservation potentially here. And I've also owned a farm-to-table cafe in a past life, and I'm excited to be able to teach some of the knowledge that I gained from that experience. And also as a farmer, I was an organic farmer for about 6 years. And then we'll be teaching a course on mycology, both for its healing purposes on society, but also on humanity and the health benefits and the cultivation of those, as well as a course on agroecology, which, as I mentioned earlier, is synonymous. Well, there's a lot of commonality between regenerative agriculture and or agroecology, and I'm excited to talk about those parallels, but also some differences that I think are interesting. So,
how do you teach that online in the online forum?
There are things that we can teach about on a framework and from a broader perspective. Like, I think it is imperative when people start to learn about agroecology that at some point they get their hands in the dirt. That is part of it, but there's also an intellectual side of it that it's also important and can really, I think, fortify and make these topics so much more interesting when you see how interrelated it is globally, socially, historically. And layering it in with those contexts can actually, I think, bring a lot of beauty and depth to these topics, which are so important.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and very excited about your courses coming up. And I think we're going to move to Jim Schaefer. Yeah, he's going to be speaking about soil technology. And please let us know who you are and how you got into regenerative agriculture.
So I am an agronomist, a PhD in agronomy, I grew up on a farm in the state of Illinois, diversified farm, and a family of ancestors who have owned farms for multiple generations. I have been involved in organic agriculture for over 50 years. I was part of the original group of scientists who helped write the rules for organic agriculture that are utilized by the USDA in the United States. And the same rules have been copied around the world in many countries now. At MIU, one of the founders of the study of agriculture at our university, going back, 40 years. So I've been at MIU doing different things for approximately 40 years. My interest is, as an instructor in the graduate school for master's students and as a designer of our PhD programs. We have done some very interesting things of recent. Intellectually, our focus in our department and how we are evolving our strategic interest is probably of some interest to the student. And our interest is, you've heard language like eco-agriculture, you've heard the words soil health, you heard the words organic agriculture. Here at our university, we also advocate for Vedic organic agriculture. But we're creating a laboratory to put some meat on the table, we could say, intellectually, to better understand what it means to create soil health. And we're looking, for example, and most expressly, we have a great interest in the interrelationship between microbiology in the soil, the plants, and the soil itself. So this is a three-way process. The study of consciousness in agriculture comes down to the interplay between these components of an agricultural ecology. And in this case, from an agronomic point of view, we're talking about the plant, we're talking about the soil, we're talking about the biology in the soil. The interplay between all of these elements is a definition of consciousness in agriculture, okay? And this is central to our university. We teach everything from the point of view of consciousness. And our argument would be that everything is consciousness. And you can find consciousness in everything. So there's consciousness in biology of soils, there's consciousness in plants, there's consciousness in the soil itself. The interplay between these things is the demonstration of consciousness. We're creating a laboratory to study that integration, that interplay, that dynamic of consciousness in nature. And we want to put some evidence and data to support our observation that consciousness is in everything. Consciousness is in agriculture. We have created collaborations with other universities around the world. Our master's degree is in the process of being integrated as a collaborative exercise with Heliopolis University in Egypt. We have collaborations underway now that are getting started with the Royal Cambodian Agricultural University. Also other universities in Cambodia, as well as in Bali, in Indonesia, in Zambia. We have a program of developing a new university agriculture department at KPMU in Lusaka, Zambia. And we're forming collaborations with other universities there as well. These are research collaborations. This is training of their faculty, raising their faculty from a master's to a PhD level. This involves as well exchange of students. We anticipate having students from all these universities, especially into our graduate school at the master's level.
Super exciting. I'm so excited to hear about those collaborations. Yeah.
There are many intellectual topics that can be discussed. Soil, water, soil health. These are two big topics in agriculture. And the focus on topics of this nature are central to our curriculum and the syllabus that you will find in the degree programs that we offer. So what do you do with a degree in agriculture? There are many things to do. The majority of the people who are educated in the field of agriculture are working in the side of agriculture that's related to adding value to what is being produced. So that you may become a specialist in working for a company that buys organic agricultural grains or legumes or fruits or vegetables, and you move them into the market. And inside that company, you are the expert in organic certification, you are the expert in quality control, and you can have a job like that. There are a lot of industrial jobs all up and down the chain, the supply chain in organic agricultural fields. Another thing that you can do is participate in the process of certifying organic agricultural production. We need inspectors. There are approximately 90 licensed USDA certifying agencies in the United States. Working for these agencies is a big future for people who get advanced degrees in organic agriculture. So that gives you a little feel for it. A lot of job opportunities. I'll give you an interesting statistic. In agriculture, we create jobs for graduates in agriculture at the rate of about 65,000 of them per year. Okay?
Yep.
In the United States, we have graduates from schools of agriculture at the $50,000 per year. So we're short. There is a deficit. We need more graduates with degrees in agriculture to fill all of these jobs. And again, the majority of the jobs are more related to adding value, dealing with what is actually being produced in agriculture. Anyone and everyone is invited to get involved in production agriculture, to become a farmer. But the honest fact is most people work more in the area of added value.
Thank you for that perspective. That's super helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your time. And we'll wrap it up with Jody. Maybe you could give us some final thoughts on the program and why it's important to have this program.
Well, I can sum up the importance with we all need to eat. And after about 4 days of going hungry, our society won't be doing very well. So that's the primary importance of agriculture in general. And then our primary importance as, as a university, MIU, and then specifically our department, is we have to produce the next generation of young people that are interested in perpetuating our food production. And with our growing global population, we have to become more efficient at it, we have to be better at it, and we have to come up with innovative ways to keep it sustainable and at the same time meet our ultimate goal, which is to improve livelihoods around the world.
Thank you so much to our panelists. Super inspiring. So we have 3 ways to study with us. You can do the on-campus bachelor's program, or you can study online at the bachelor's and master's level. And we just want you to know that ever since we launched our online division, people have actually been moving to Fairfield and still as online students, but that way they can be in this beautiful small town here. And we have a very generous transfer policy for undergraduate students. So just make note that you can transfer credits towards your bachelor's degree program from any college that's part of the Higher Learning Commission or other comparable US regional accrediting associations. And we can transfer up to 90 credits. And more than 90% of our students receive extensive financial aid. So again, complete your FAFSA. The application deadline for the next entry is January 15th, and that's for the February entry. This is for the undergraduate program only. Otherwise, at another level, you'd have to wait for the August entry for the master's level. And we have visitors weekends. The next ones are in October, and we will reimburse you for travel expenses. We also have visitors Saturdays. Otherwise, if you can't make it here, that's perfectly fine. That's why we have these interactive webinars. And you can also request a meeting with your professor. So we just want to make a mention that everyone who enrolls in a degree program at MIU learns transcendental meditation. And as soon as you're accepted, you can go to any TM center and the cost of learning is covered. You just have to show them that you're coming as a student and you won't have to pay any course fee. Or you can start your degree program and then you have the first 4 weeks or so to complete your TM course training. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you can be a part of our community. And there's so many ways to be a part of our community. But otherwise, that's all we had for today.